Da, 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 da. Hello, my fellow YouTubers and subscribers, and welcome to my latest ranking. Today, I'm going to be ranking the Wizarding World movies, aka the Harry Potter films and the Fantastic Beasts films. With the release of The Secrets of Dumbledore, I thought now's another good time to update the list, especially as it's been about 4 years since I last ranked these films. Essentially, in this video, you'll get digest opinions on the movies. I'm not going to go into a lengthy ramble because there's just no point when I have the reviews. But this is my own personal subjective list. It is not objective. I'm not saying this is how you should rank the movies. This is just my hot take on the series. And I know there are going to be people that will disagree with me, but that's fine. I'm happy to agree to disagree, provided we all remain civil. So yeah, looking forward to it. So, right, let's kick the list off, shall we? And also, there may potentially be spoilers for Secrets of Dumbledore in this video. So if you haven't seen that one, then I would advise you clicking away. Unless you have seen it, or if you just don't give a shit about spoilers, then, well, it's up to you, basically. So, number 11 is, well, probably everybody's least favourite, The Crimes of Grindelwald. Yes, Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald. This movie is a mess. It's such a shame. I know my good friend Harry Thomas loves the movie, and Harry, I definitely respect your opinion, man, but I just don't see why you like it that much. To me, it's just kind of too convoluted. There's just a little bit too much going on. The script is very unfocused. It should have been called Fantastic Beasts, Who the Hell is Credence? And the ending twist is kind of bizarre. I mean, it kind of makes a little more sense now with the new film, Secrets of Dumbledore. But yeah, the Crimes of Grindelwald, it's just kind of, there's just too much going on. There's not a lot of action. It's very exposition heavy. It's kind of slow and dull. And, Johnny Depp as well as Grindelwald. He is good when he's on screen, but truthfully, he doesn't get that much to do, which is a real shame, I must admit. Although I do like seeing the returning cast members like Eddie Redmayne, Alison Sudol, Dan Fogler, Catherine Waterston. They are good, respectively. And all the cast do a good job, and David Yates directs it pretty well, but it's the script, I think, that's the biggest problem. It's a little hard to follow in places, but there are some good moments in it, like the return to Hogwarts is quite nice. The finale is actually quite decent. And the opening is amazing, but sadly for me, it's just the film in the series that I just have no desire to rewatch, to be honest. I just think it's boring. I mean, the only time I'll rewatch it is when, well, hopefully they'll make the last two Fantastic Beasts movies, and yeah, I will hopefully watch it when all 5 movies are complete, because it just kind of feels at the moment like it's a filler movie and sort of setting things up, and yeah, although I did like Lita Lestrange, she was cool. But anyway, moving on, number 10 is a film that has severely gone down in my opinion, The HalfBlood Prince. Now, I know some of you are going to be shocked that it's this low. Believe me, I did not want to put it this low. There was a time when it came out, I loved The Half-Blood Prince. I thought it was fantastic. It was a great movie. But on reflection, I've come to realise it's actually the least faithful to its novel. And it includes the basic essentials for what you need in terms of the Horcruxes, but it could have gone further into Voldemort's backstory and character development. I think it's focused on the wrong things. David Yates and co focused too much on the romantic comedy. And I know the book is not exactly the most exciting one of the bunch. It is probably the worst paced of the Potter films, which is why it's down here. It's a little more interesting than The Crimes of Grindelwald, which is why it's above it. But for me, this is quite a dull film. It does take its time, but there are good things in it. Like when the action is there, it's good. Like the burrow sequence and the cave finale is awesome in the end, and Dumbledore's demise definitely is powerful. There's no doubt about it. And this is obviously an essential piece of the story, the discovery of the Horcruxes, and that's very interesting. But I think this movie's too long. At 2.5 hours, it just didn't need to be this long, and it's the one that drags the most. It's like, okay, this is the last little bit of things we need to know before we get to Deathly Hallows. But I don't hate this film, but it's just not the best. And I do think the cinematography is probably some of the weakest of the series. Like the colour, or the lack of colour, the fact that it's so dark and so desaturated, and it just I don't know, it doesn't leave me with a lot of joy. It's like Order of the Phoenix. It's not one of the most joyous films, but you know, it does have some comedy, and it does have light relief, which is nice. And when the action is there, it's good. But it probably features Michael Gambon's best performance as Dumbledore. But at the same time, this movie could have been at least 20 minutes shorter. I think it could have been like 2 hours, 15 minutes at the most. But anyway, it's just my opinion. And there is a lack of action in the film, and it definitely shows. Number 9, and I was surprised to put this one above the HalfBlood Prince, but it's actually The Secrets of Dumbledore. Yeah, Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. This movie was actually, it was good. Yeah, it was decent. You know, it's certainly not the movie I wanted it to be. I certainly would have liked, you know, The Secrets of Dumbledore to be shown on screen rather than told, but, you know, it's still a fun movie. I've actually seen it like 3 times now, and each time I've actually enjoyed it a bit more. I actually think, okay, this is actually fun. It's at least more fun than the second one. It's not quite as convoluted. It definitely has more of a streamlined narrative, and all the characters are working together, going towards the same goal, whereas in The Crimes of Grindelwald, they're all going to Paris for slightly different reasons, and it's a little hard to follow who's doing what for who. But this one, I mean, despite the fact there is a lack of Tina, and that's a real shame, this is a fun movie, and it's definitely... there's definitely a bit more action in it, which is good, and you know, Mads Mikkelsen is outstanding. I think as Grindelwald, he's very, very good, and I think he probably should have been cast from the beginning. No offense to Johnny Depp, I love Johnny, and I really sympathise with what he's going through, but and I don't agree with the way he was let go from the series, but I do think Mads is better. Sorry. But there are some genuinely great moments here. Like, there's some great comedy. It brings the charm back, I think, to the series that was so lacking in film too. But maybe there are still a few too many characters in here. It's a little overstuffed. But the whole concept of the Chillen and the elections and how Grindelwald is basically trying to rise to power in this is interesting. It's very interesting. And seeing more of like Newt Scamander, how he's more confident this time, is very good. Jacob and Queenie's romance is nicely developed. Theseus gets a lot more to do. Yeah, it's genuinely a ton of fun, and the beasts that you will see in the film are good. They're very good to look at. I do feel like Credence and Aberforth, that whole part of the story was wasted. They could have told that so much better. There could have been so much more resolution to that story. Never mind. And also, Jude Law is great as Albus Dumbledore. He is very good, but he puts this Irish twang on his accent, you know, and some of his lines are kind of funny actually because of it. Like, there's a line that he says, "I'm sure you're enjoying your wand, Mr. Kowalski." Like, it just kind of sounds really weird, and it did make me laugh a little bit. But I guess he's trying to do that out of respect to Richard Harris or Michael Gambon, one of the two. But every line, it's with a little bit like this, and your wand, Mr. Kowalski. Yeah, you see what I mean? It's a little strange. I can't do it myself. You have to watch the film to see it, but yeah. It is amusing. And James Newton Howard's score, actually, is also very good. But yeah, moving on to the next film, number 8 is Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. This movie is definitely the best of the 3 Beasts movies, there's no question about that. I wouldn't say it's perfect, it certainly has a lot of tonal inconsistencies. Like, it's a little bit jarring going from, you know, fun capturing the beasts to dark domestic abuse. They could have found a way to kind of make those two kind of work better together, but for what it is, this is a simple, very fun movie that sets up the series quite nicely, and it could actually serve as a pretty fun standalone film in of itself. And the introductions of like Newt, Tina, Queenie, and Jacob are all great. They're a great quartet of characters, and Colin Farrell does a good job as Graves / Grindelwald. I mean, Grindelwald is kind of revealed to be Johnny Depp at the end, so yeah, I guess it seems kind of redundant now, given that Johnny's out of the series. But still, and the beasts that we see in this film are very, very good. They're very charming, and the CG is nice, you know, and it looks colourful, and it's nice to go back to the world of Potter, and the magical world in America is definitely interesting. That's one thing I like about the Beast movies, is the fact that they do venture out to other parts of the Wizarding world, and that's really cool. It isn't perfect, but it's good fun, and I could watch it and be very entertained, so yeah, I'm happy. Number 7 is The Order of the Phoenix. Now, this one has always been kind of going up and down for me. When I first saw it, I thought it was good, but I never cared for it that much. But I think I've grown to appreciate Order of the Phoenix a lot more. It has a lot of good stuff going on, like the political conspiracy against Harry, Umbridge, and I mean, wow, what a character. The final battle in the Ministry of Magic, including Dumbledore versus Voldemort. Classic. So many iconic scenes in Order of the Phoenix. The reason why it's down here is because I think it does feel at times, lacking of joy. I mean, there isn't a lot of light relief. I mean, okay, yeah, Harry has a kiss and he has a bit of a romance. There is some comedy for sure. It does work. But I just feel at times the film has got quite a sad tone to it, which does work. But at the same time, it doesn't have as much of a rewatch value for me as some of the others. Like, I watch it mainly when I'm watching the whole series, which is what I did when I re-reviewed them. But I do really like this film, and the emotional relationships that Harry has, like with people like Sirius and Ron and Hermione and his best friends. And I do feel like Ron and Hermione are kind of sidelined in this film, which is another reason why this is a bit lower. But I'm not denying Order of the Phoenix is great. It has some of the best moments. It's a great film. And for David Yates' first, Wizarding World film, he did a good job. I think he did a very good job at trimming the fat of the book, because the book is way too long. It's the worst book for me, just because of its length. And I'm really glad that they managed to trim out the bits that weren't entirely necessary to Harry's stories. So they did a good job, and they paced it very well. And it's actually one of the shorter films of the series, which, I mean, it's still long. It's like 2 hours 18 minutes, but it's shorter than some of the others. So I think that's pretty cool. And the music is great as well. But yeah, Imelda Staunton fucking kills it in this film. She's really, really good. Number 6 is The Deathly Hallows Part 1. Now, I don't want to sound like a bit of a hypocrite when I said, Order of the Phoenix is too sad and depressing, because in a way, Deathly Hallows Part 1 is sadder and more depressing. But the fact is, this film is when the characters have grown up. They are adults now, they're on the run, they're going into the real world, and the world is dark, and they are trying to do everything they can to survive. And I love the fact that Deathly Hallows Part 1 is a slow build-up to Part 2, and it's a great drama, and you kind of needed to see the characters break each other apart. Like Harry, Ron, and Hermione, they fall out, they fight, Ron leaves. There's so much going on here, and there's a lot of action. I think it's more action-packed than people remember, and it's pretty epic. Yes, there are camping scenes, yes, they are slow, but they are not as slow as the book for me. I find the book to drag on more than the films, personally. And actually splitting the last book into 2 films, I think, was actually a pretty decent idea, to be fair. And the acting in this film is impressive by Dan Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, and Emma Watson. Like, my heart broke when Ron left. It was a tragic scene. And I love the dark feeling of this film. David Yates captured a really dark feeling, and the cinematography is great. There are some shots that are a little bit too dark, but that aside, it's great. And all the other sort of supporting cast get their moments to shine. Like that meeting scene with Voldemort at the start was very scary. And definitely Hallows Part 1, it is the darkest of the series. And that's definitely unique. What makes it unique, because there's no Hogwarts. We don't see one single shot of Hogwarts in this film. And seeing Dobby back was great, and yes, his death was very, very sad. Yeah, very sad indeed. And some of the other scenes were just quite scary when Hermione's tortured, and also that weird scene when they destroy the locket and there's like a naked Harry and Hermione kissing and embracing. I mean, they're like ghosts and like the clouds are covering them, but it's still a bit weird, I think, okay, David Yates was trying to show, oh look, we're mature now, we're going edgy with this, but I really love this film. I think it's incredibly underrated, and there's that amazing animation sequence with the tale of the 3 brothers, and it's a great action thrill ride, and I think it's a fantastic build-up to what will be an epic final battle. And you know what? It's the one time when I supported one of 2 times, because I actually support The Hobbit as a trilogy, but it's the first time that I thought, splitting a book into 2 films actually probably worked because of the stuff that they had to include. But anyway, moving on to number 5. Number 5 is The Prisoner of Azkaban. Some people put this higher and put it as the best. I can see why, on recent rewatch. Yes, Alfonso Cuaron directed it beautifully, and I think he kept it all focused on the human drama, and he made a very human film. It's, about a boy who's trying to discover the roots of his past, and trying to deal with all the stuff regarding his parents, and trying to face his fears. I love the whole concept of this film, the idea that Harry is learning to grow. He is coming of age now, and he's learning some dark and difficult truths about his family, whilst also realising that the truth may not be what it seems, with, you know, how Sirius as a character turned out, and also how Lupin is. Like all the stuff in the Shrieking Shack, great drama, absolutely great drama, and that's what I love about The Prisoner of Azkaban. It is when the films start to get darker, and the Dementors were done beautifully. They really, really were. It's not quite as charming as the first two films, but it's still very, very good. But one of my criticisms is definitely the Quidditch match. Like, playing Quidditch in the thundering rain is just stupid. I know, I know that that's what it is in the book, but I still feel that that's a little dumb. You know, I think it's a little pointless, to be honest. But obviously, you know, the only purpose it had to the story was for Harry to break his broom. But still, and flying the Buckbeak, you know, flying Buckbeak, that scene is just absolutely beautiful. It's brilliant. But I don't know, there are just 4 other films that I slightly prefer. But this one it's definitely a magical film, and there's no denying that. And there's a lot of heavy drama going on, and the Dementors are creepy. I just have a couple of minor things to say about it, but watch my review for further details. Number 4 would have to be where it all started, the Philosopher's Stone. Or the Sorcerer's Stone, if you live in America. The Philosopher's Stone is a fantastic film. Great introduction to the series. It might be a little long at 2.5 hours, but I think it actually flows at a very consistent pace, and it tells the most essential parts of the story. It's probably one of the truest to its books, I think, and it does a great job of just sucking you into this world and immersing you, much like Harry. We are with Harry in this film. We are Harry. Harry is the audience character, being, you know, reacting to everything around him and being shown this world, and then trying to solve the mystery of the Philosopher's Stone is really interesting. And just the world of Hogwarts and everything, the Quidditch, the chess game, the final battle with Voldemort. There's some great stuff in this film, like some emotional storytelling as well, like with the Mirror of Erised. Richard Harris is a perfect Dumbledore. It's a great movie. It's a wonderful film. It's so charming. Chris Columbus directs it really well. I don't have many bad things to say about it. It may be a little bit long in places, but, you know, that's fine. I think it's sort of worthy of being that length. But yeah, I think it does a great job of giving you the sort of setup of the story and leave you wanting more, much more. So yeah, it perfectly functioned for me. Number 3 would have to be The Chamber of Secrets. The Chamber of Secrets, yeah, this is a great one. It is slightly better than the first one, even though I did criticise the film for being way too long. And it is too long, 2 hours 40 minutes. That's kind of pushing it. And there are parts of the film which do drag a bit, but that's been my only complaint, because the rest of it is absolutely amazing. There's so much more action. It's action-packed. Thrill ride. The mystery surrounding the Chamber of Secrets is brilliant, but it also furthers this story with Harry and his parents. You know, Harry's still trying to discover the truth about what happened, and, you know, it's kind of slowly hinting at the connection between Harry and Voldemort, which is great. The fight with the basilisk and the sword, it's just epic, and all the confrontation and stuff with Tom Riddle at the end is brilliant. Ron is very funny in this one when his wand is broken. Kenneth Branagh is great as Gilderoy Lockhart, actually. And seeing them teach them different kinds of magic, like with the mandrakes and Professor Sprout, you know, all of that stuff is great. And then the dueling club with Draco, like the rivalry with Harry and Draco growing stronger. The Quidditch match is insanely good. Everything works. It's so well done. And Chris Columbus did an absolutely brilliant job directing the kids. And the fact that they made it literally a year after the first one just goes to show how much work they put into it. But it is a bit long, and it does feel a little bit slow in the middle, I think, but, you know, it's still in the top 3 because it is just epic, and there's not much to not love about this film. And all the stuff with the spiders, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant, and the acting is on point. Music score is beautiful. It's such a magical film, and it's probably one of the most charming Potter films as well. I mean, it does get a little bit dark and kind of scary at the end, but, you know, it has a lot of like relief, and like the first 2 are very similar in that regard, partly because of that they're directed by the same person, but also, yeah, they just have that charm about them, and this one is no exception. And of course, how can we forget Dobby? Dobby is a delight. Number 2, The Deathly Hallows Part 2. This film is amazing. I mean, wow, I loved The Deathly Hallows Part 2. it is a phenomenal conclusion to this series. It could have had a slightly longer epilogue, maybe, but you know what? The Battle of Hogwarts was done so well. All the characters were played so well by the cast. The three leads just did a terrific job. The storytelling was great by David Yates, and they went out with a bang. It was emotional, action-packed, you know, to the point where I even almost shed a couple of tears at the end, you know, when the epilogue was playing, and we end literally where we started, on the platform, which is beautiful. And there's so many great moments in this film. Ralph Fiennes' his best performance as Voldemort by far. The battle is exciting and it's dramatic, and they build up to it really well. The film is actually the shortest of the pot of films. I think it's the shortest of all the films in this series, at 2 hours 10 minutes. But you know, rightly so, because I think that you know, they only had a little bit left to do in Gringotts, and then they were going to Hogwarts pretty much for the final battle. So they managed to do that in 2 hours, and that was fine. The music score is also very good. Loads of character payoff moments, particularly with Newell as well. Newell is very strong in this film, and it's just a phenomenal conclusion. There's a lot of sadness to it as well. Like David Yates, it creates quite a bleak atmosphere with this film, and when characters die, it is incredibly emotional. And there's so much going on in this film, and it moves at a rocketing old pace, and it sticks consistent to it, and all the memory flashback scenes are brilliant. And like me, if you watch the whole series from beginning to end, it really hits you, you know. And I think it's one of the few times I've actually watched the whole series back to back. And the stuff with the dragon in Gringotts, you know, wow, what an epic action scene! You couldn't have asked for a more action-packed finale. Which is why I think it was probably a good idea to split the last one in two. But yeah, superb film on every level. Just absolute magic. But of course, anyone who knows me knows that my favourite film of this series is The Goblet of Fire. Yes, this movie is wonderful. I absolutely love it. There is an argument to be made that the Triwizard Tournament is a stupid idea to have in a school. I can understand if people have a problem with that. I'm prepared to let it go because I love the film, and I think that the film is a great turning point in the series, particularly when Voldemort comes back at the end, which is one of my favourite scenes in the series, actually. But all three tasks are brilliant, like the dragon, you know, the lake, the maze. It's all brilliant. But it also continues the themes of coming of age, and characters are starting to get into sort of romantic tendencies here. There's a lot of teenage anxiety going on with the opposite sex, which is nice. It is a long film. It's like 2 hours 37 minutes, but it actually moves at a very good pace, and it always keeps me entertained. The music by Patrick Doyle is phenomenal, and it's just epic. It's a much more epic film than the first three, and again, it's almost like the halfway point of the series. We are going into darker territory. Mad-Eye Moody is just fantastic. He's just a brilliant character. I like the fact that the film had a perfect balance of light and dark, like the humorous side of it, and then the darker side of it. It all kind of worked sort of hand in hand. Mike Newell's direction is just superb, and for me, that's just a few of the reasons why I think it's the best, and it will always be my favourite. I was just wowed by it ever since I first saw it, and yeah, I'll be very surprised if there's a future film that can dethrone this in the series. So yeah, that's my ranking of the Wizarding World movies. Sorry for waffling on, but I hope you enjoyed listening. So just to recap my list, number 11, The Crimes of Grindelwald. Sorry. Number 10, The Half-Blood Prince. Number 9, The Secrets of Dumbledore. Number 8, Where to Find Them. Number 7, The Order of the Phoenix. 6, The Deathly Hallows Part 1. 5, The Prisoner of Azkaban. 4, The Philosopher's Stone, or Sorcerer's Stone. 3, The Chamber of Secrets. 2, The Deathly Hallows Part 2. And 1, The Goblet of Fire. So thank you all very much for listening. Please leave me your lists down below. And have you seen The Secrets of Dumbledore? And if so, what do you think of it? And stay tuned in the future for more Wizarding World content. So thank you very much all for watching. And as always, I'm Mr. TARDIS11. See ya. Bye for now.